Hey guys, it's Sabrina. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my senior thesis. A lot of you guys were actually interested in what I researched, so I thought I'd make a video about that. I don't know if the lighting's off or not. We used this camera to take graduation pictures last week, so it might be. And then my friend actually took some graduation pictures of me today, and she's like a pro. She has like a super high-tech camera, has a really good editing program, so I'm excited to share those pictures with you guys later today. I'll probably post them once they're done, but I'm like obsessing about it. She like sent me a few and I'm like, holy crap, I look amazing. I don't even look this good in real life. So I'm super excited to share it with you guys. But getting into my senior thesis, so right now I was actually just working on my actual senior thesis. So we need to write out like a paper of all the experiments we've completed in the past year, year and a half, 2 years, however long you've been in lab. Usually for senior thesis, you're in lab for a whole year. And I was required to do a thesis because I'm a biochemistry major. I'm also an honor student, and both of these like types of programs require me to do a senior thesis. So either way, I had to do one. And pretty much what a senior thesis is that you have to join a lab and you have to do experiments for an entire year and then present about it and talk about it and write up like a research paper about it. And then at the end of the year you have a poster presentation. So this is my poster. You guys saw it in my Instagram picture. If not, it's on Instagram. Follow me. My username is SabsBeauty. And then we have to also write out a entire like I guess research paper about what we did. That's the hardest part. At this point I had 20 pages of research, which is crazy. I wrote so much. And so I've been in my research lab since I was a sophomore, so I had 2 years of research, but I didn't start research until my junior year. So I had a lot of research, which helped a lot with writing my senior thesis. A lot of kids have a hard time getting results in a year because if you guys have experience with the research lab, you know that it never works and your experiments never work, and when they do, you don't even believe it because you're like, is this real life? Did this actually work? So yeah. Like for example, I was trying to squeeze in one more experiment before the end of the year, but I just eventually just couldn't. I gave up because I couldn't get anything right, and I just kept, everyone was getting upset with me, my PI was getting upset with me, the other people in my lab, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've tried to do this right. I'm doing something completely wrong, so I'm done. So I just gave up on that experiment and just went with whatever else I had to make my poster and to write out my thesis. So your thesis has to be, there's like a page limit, so it has to be I think at least 10 to 15 pages long. So mine's 20 right now, so I think I'm good. I'm just going back and editing it and making sure it looks pretty good and professional. For the honors program, I'm also required to print it out and make like 2 different like books I guess with my thesis, and then to put it on a CD. So I have to do all that before May 10th. And then on May 10th I present my poster again. So I presented it once, and I presented it last week for a research symposium. It's because I was awarded a scholarship for research. It was an undergraduate research opportunity scholarship, something like that. I forgot what it was stood for. But I got money for that, and I got to use the money for research, and I also got to use the money for classes and stuff, so I kind of had like a cheaper tuition for the past year, which was super nice. And I have to thank my PI for that, because if it wasn't for her, I would have never gotten this scholarship. She helped me write out everything and make it sound really good and professional, and write out like my proposal and stuff. And we did this really last minute, so we didn't hear about it until like a few days before it was due. So we spent like the entire weekend working on it because it was due on Monday. And I was just shocked when I actually found out that I won the award, because I was like, oh, that was really last minute. I'm sure they're not going to like it. And we were also applying for like solar energy, and my lab doesn't work with that. So we didn't think we'd get it, but we did. And she was super excited and I was super excited because it helped out her lab, gave some money to the lab, and it also helped me out because I got some money too, which was super cool. And so because I won that award, I had to present at a research symposium. And it was really fun. There were tons of other kids there who won different types of awards that were presenting there as well. And it was cool to like walk around and see what they were talking about in their posters, because everyone's different. So I'm biochem, there was physics, there was math, there was chemical engineering, and all this really cool stuff. So I got to learn a lot about other different ways to do a thesis and like other different research topics. So my thesis specifically focuses on cardiac muscle myosin. So to give you guys a general breakdown of what that means, There are 3 different types of muscles in the body. I'm sure you guys know. There's cardiac, there's smooth, and there's skeletal. Cardiac makes up the heart, so it's a pretty big deal. And our research lab was working with smooth and skeletal before. Cardiac is pretty new because there was a lab across from us who had been working on cardiac, and we decided to partner up and work on it together. And cardiac's really complicated because it's very different from the other types of muscles, and there's just a lot going on. We found out that myosin is also different from the other myosins. So myosin is one of the filaments that work to contract muscle, and the other filament that's involved is actin. So we were working with myosin. Myosin is a thicker filament. We found out that cardiac myosin is bipolar, which means that it has 2 little heads. So myosin has a really cool shape. It has like a rod and then a head region. I don't know if you guys understand anything that I'm saying, but you guys wanted me to explain my research, so I'll try to do it the best that I can. And the head region is what attaches to actin. When actin exposes its binding sites, and then contraction can occur when ATP comes in, which is pretty cool stuff. I remember when I started my sophomore year and I was getting told about what the lab was working on. I had no idea what they were talking about. I was just staring at them like, what are you saying? But eventually I actually understand what I'm saying. Like I know what I'm saying. The words that are coming out of my mouth make sense, which is cool. I definitely didn't feel like that before. And then what I worked on was just understanding cardiac better. So I did an experiment on sedimentation, which means how fast it pellets, so how fast you see like a little pellet when you like spin a tube, I guess. So we have a centrifuge, we would spin it and then we'd see if it pellets completely. And we found out that it didn't pellet completely, and we don't know why. That was weird. So obviously myosin doesn't like to, or the cardiac muscle myosin doesn't like to pellet, and it was spun at high speed for a long time. So we don't understand what happened there. But that was good to know. That means that we probably need to pay attention when we're spinning myosin and make sure that we're actually spinning it to completion. Then we just looked at depolymerization rate. So depolymerization means when myosin goes from a filamentous state to a monomeric state. So filaments means that there's multiple like myosins together, whereas monomers is just one myosin. If that makes sense. And we found that myosin does not depolymerize, which means that it stays stable, which is really good because when we use myosin on the microscope, we use like a turf microscope, so it's a fluorescence microscope, and that was pretty cool. I loved going into lab and doing that. When we visualize it on the scope, it'd be at really low concentrations, and we just wanted to make sure that when we were using these low concentrations, myosin was stable, and it was. And usually when we're on the scope, we have to label myosin with a fluorescent dye, so we use rhodamine. And we found out that rhodamine actually does, I'm looking at, I have the PowerPoint pulled up with, so this is the PowerPoint I used to make my poster, so I have that pulled up to look down at it. And what we found was that when it's rhodamine labeled, it actually does not depolymerize, so it's a little bit less stable. So that means that when we're using it on the scope, it's probably a little bit less stable than it should be, which makes sense because when I was on the scope trying to like measure velocities and stuff, it was giving me a lot of issues, and it was really hard to do it with myosin, cardiac specifically. Other myosin's easy. Skeletal is the best, I swear. It's so easy to work with. And so because of this, we found that when we rhodamine label cardiac, we want to cross-link it. Cross-link it stabilizes it because you like kind of like attach myosin to another myosin and put them together. So that was just uncross-linked. So that proved that cross-linking is good. That was something that another undergraduate student did for his senior thesis. And then I just determined the kinetics of cardiac S1. Kinetics is a measurement used in biochemistry. There's something called Km and Vmax, and Km is half the maximal velocity, Vmax is maximal velocity. So that's just good to know how fast cardiac muscle myosin moves. And then recently we've been working on different types of models. So people always thought that the rate of contraction is limited by how fast myosin attaches to actin. So that's known as the attachment limited model. Whereas we prove that there is something known as a detachment limited model. So the rate of velocity can be limited by how fast myosin detaches from actin. And we found that cardiac works using both of these models. So it starts off steep, that means it's undergoing an attachment limited model, and then eventually it levels off, which means it's limited by detachment limited. So what that means is that eventually the muscle can't, or myosin and actin can't keep on contracting and working quickly and fastly and efficiently because it's being limited by like a myosin head, let's say that's like back here, versus there's a myosin head here that's trying to contract, but this guy's stuck because it hasn't detached yet. So that was really interesting, and when I first started I did not know what that meant either. I was like, I have no idea what you're saying, but now I do, so that's exciting. And over time you just start to understand what your research lab is doing and what's going on. And making this poster presentation helped me so much. I was like, wow, I actually know what I'm talking about, so that was really cool. But that's pretty much what I worked on, so I just found out more about cardiac muscle myosin and how it works. A lot of my experiments involved solutions. I didn't actually work with the cardiac muscle, so I just had like solutions and things going on. I did get to work on the microscope, which was cool. You'd have like a slide and you just like insert the different solutions, place it onto the scope, and then the slide would have actin already on it, so once you place myosin and ATP, you could like visualize it moving, so that was cool. I'd record movies and then later track the movement of myosin and actin. So I had a lot of fun in my lab. I learned a lot of really cool techniques, and I just learned, I guess, how to do research. I learned that research is really hard and it's not for everyone. Like, I definitely don't think it's for me. I thought it was a good experience, but honestly, I get frustrated, and when things wouldn't work, I'd be really frustrated. So you just need to be an extremely patient person to be in research, and I don't think that personality fits me really well, so I don't think it was for me. But it was a really good experience. I'm really happy that I was required to do a senior thesis and that I was required to join a research lab. I think I would have done it either way because I really wanted to see what research was like, and to see if, you know, if maybe I liked research better than actually pursuing like medicine and medical school. But I ended up figuring out that medical school was better for me. So that's what I did. I don't know if that made any sense to you guys, but if it did and you guys are working in a research lab and know what I'm talking about, let me know what you're working on. I'm really interested in what other people have been doing for like their senior thesis, if you have one, or just in general in their research labs. And I will see you guys in my upcoming videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye guys!